Hey friends, welcome back to the universe. American Gods is a show about deities who are rapidly losing their subscriber numbers to the personifications of the things people use to occupy their time.
That's all you do, occupy their time. We gave back, we gave them meaning.
The intro sequence of the show takes mythology and religion, mixes it with concepts of TV, technology, drugs, war, and society's current inability to see past their video screens. Before we get into the shot-by-shot breakdown, do two things for me. First, subscribe to Universe. We do deep dives into a bunch of shows like American Gods, Fargo, Twin Peaks, and Game of Thrones. Second thing, add me on Twitter, @BuddyHutton. Give me suggestions on what to cover next, or tell me if I messed something up. I know I said two things, but the third thing is don't get too riled up about my interpretations of this stuff. I'm just guessing. Now let's break down the most sacrilegious, smart, and beautiful 90 seconds on TV this year. At least I think it is. You can disagree, but you're wrong. From the first frame, you can see the detail that went into the look of this animation. The whole thing is surreal and slightly disturbing. The first reveal shows Yggdrasil, the tree known in Norse mythology as the tree Odin hung on for 9 nights while suffering from a spear wound, a sacrifice of himself to himself. After the ordeal, he gained runes of power. The sound of thunder is paired with lights flashing on the trunk. This may denote the storm that is brewing in the story, an upcoming conflict between deities. Next, we see fiber optic cable glowing in darkness. The transition reveals this to be the thick hair coming from an upside-down female head. Her mouth is open, and she seems to be frozen in a scream. This is the disembodied head of Medusa, with her hair of snakes replaced with fiber optic cable. In Greek mythology, Medusa was a winged monster called a gorgon. Looking at a gorgon's face caused people to turn to stone. In the stories, Perseus beheaded her and used her head as a weapon. Fiber optic cable sends information as light for fast internet and data transfer. Maybe the head of the internet cable denotes the information overload that is present in culture today.
Buddy. Hey, buddy, you're on cam.
Let's move on. The next scene shows a statue of 3 women, holding each other and looking up at a light source. In keeping with Greek mythology, these are nymphs. According to the director of the intro, Clair, these are selfie nymphs. They all have cell phone cameras placed in the center of their foreheads, denoting their Cyclops view of the world. Selfie! We pan up to reveal a menorah with 9 branches on a background of religious symbols. The Christian cross, the Muslim star and crescent, the Taoist yin and yang, and the Jewish Star of David. At the end of each branch of the menorah is an electrical connector of some sort. Most of them are identifiable as DIN connectors. What I found interesting about this is DIN is an abbreviation for the German National Standards Organization. A Jewish religious item being paired with German technology is subtle, and may not have been the point of this, but it would have been pretty brave if that's what they meant to do. Next, we have what is obviously the Madonna, the mother of Jesus, who conceived the human deity with the Christian God while she was still a virgin. Clair describes her veil as a piece of wearable technology, where you've got silicone threads woven through the fabric itself. The Mother of God being covered by technology might speak to society's current lens for viewing religion. The belief systems are still present, but they're viewed through a filter of technology. Maybe. Something I found really interesting is the light source, which is her halo, becomes the moon of the Islamic symbol in the next scene, possibly denoting that all gods come from the same power source. The moon and crescent iconography of the Muslim religion made up of the halo of Jesus' mother and an ecstasy pill. The director didn't have an explanation for this one, and I'm also opting out. Next, we see more drugs in the form of pharmaceuticals, surrounding the laughing Buddha. Clair explains this scene as Buddha turns up, sampling some pharmaceuticals and seeming to be enjoying himself. I see this scene as a clash between Eastern and Western medicine because, from the Buddhist perspective, the mind is the creator of sickness and health. The presence of drugs denote that Buddha is using drugs to achieve his current happy and healthy state. There's a lot to unpack in the next scene. We start with a few angles of a jet turbine, then cut to what Clair describes as reproductive technology in modern medicine, spinning around the base of the Hindu god Ganesh sitting on a lotus flower. Ganesh is the remover of obstacles, the patron of sciences and the god of intellect and wisdom. Physical obstacles were removed by the jet engine, as humans can now travel globally in a short time. Reproductive obstacles were removed by the modern science of in vitro fertilization, but the god of intellect and wisdom is using his hands to operate cell phones, which may mean he is too preoccupied with Twitter to offer the help he has. We follow up with a wide shot of the Egyptian pyramid with what looks to be a normal sphinx, something you'd find on royal tombs or religious temples. But in its place is the Sony AIBO, the popular robo-dog that became household pets in the late 90s. The imagery may symbolize the cross-section of religion and technology in modern society. Artificial intelligence has forced many to question whether such objects should be deemed alive. Ever since Sony discontinued the product in the mid-2000s, some Japanese owners have staged funerals for their beloved mechanical companions. The neon cowboy symbology in the next scene gives a sense of Americana, a classic hero in bright Vegas-style lights. Just like Vegas Vic, only this cowboy has a prosthetic limb. The director describes it as similar to so many of our veterans who have faced tragic events in war zones overseas. I think this symbolizes the broken American idealism of the gunslinger being marred by the violence that is inherent to his iconography. Or again, maybe it just looks cool. Accompanying the cowboy is his trusty horse, only this horse is a centaur made up of a sex doll with a satellite necklace, who has the legs of Big Dog, a robotic pack horse Boston Dynamics is designing for military use. I find it interesting that militaristic overtones of the cowboy carry through to this. The military cargo carrier robot is holding their pornography and sex along with their satellite communications. The next scene, Clair explains as the Angel of Death who's decked out in Special Forces gear. The Angel of Death, or Azrael, is referenced in Judaism, Islam, and some forms of older Christianity. He is seen as having many eyes, which may explain the backwards-looking night vision goggles. And he's firing his guns into the air. Yeehaw! The next scene is described as Ares, the god of virtual war, with a chariot pulled by two customized American muscle cars, holding a crossbow with a nuclear ICBM loaded into it. But one user on Reddit described this as Lady Justice, a personification of morality with Greek roots. However, instead of a blindfold, the figure wears a VR helmet. Instead of scales, the figure holds chains tethered to two vintage cars. And instead of a sword, the figure holds a crossbow loaded with a missile. Also, unlike Lady Justice, the weapon is raised higher than the scales. Damn. The first view of this scene is reminiscent of Egyptian hieroglyphics, which may denote spacecraft. These hieroglyphics have been the source of conspiracy theory for years. The shuttle is launching from a platform made up of computer parts. Next, the Crucified Astronaut. The first shot showcases the connection hole in spacesuits for the atmospheric umbilical. This may be symbolic of the spears that pierced the side of Christ as he hung on the cross. Jesus came to Earth, and an astronaut is a man who leaves it. I think it may be representative of the ongoing battle between science and religious beliefs. In 2015, a Russian graffiti artist named Alexander Zunev created a work depicting Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space. After completing the work, the artist faced prison time for insulting religious beliefs. Finally, the camera pulls back to reveal a Roman eagle standard. No, I'm just kidding. It's a totem pole comprised of all the scenes from the intro, I think symbolizing that all of these things come together to create the belief systems of America on the back of the original Native Americans' religious iconography. Now, you may not agree with everything I said, and I'm not even sure that I do, but we can all agree that the intro to the show is fantastic. You know what else would be fantastic? If you downloaded the GameSpot Now app on your cell phone to get all the best GameSpot stories without needing to search. Hit me up on Twitter, let me know if I messed anything up. Thank you so much for watching. I love you.